Yeah, my name is Peter Helis. I'm the CEO of Helis Associates. Helis Associates is a boutique consultancy company. We could also say we are a matchmaker. We're basically a bridge between Europe and China, in particular Southern China. We work together with local governments and also local governments in both places, but also with companies in both places and support them in their respective markets. The main points of my presentation today, on one hand, were how to build even better partnership in Sino-Western exchange, and that was one point, and the other point was then also how young people, young professionals can be successful in modern China, especially with the new normal. Well, I think the difference between partnership and competition, the biggest difference is actually one is positive, the other one is negative. And partnership is talking with each other, and competition is more like you assume, or you don't even know what is going on, and you're not dealing directly with each other. And I would always prefer a partnership because, you know, it might sound a little bit of an old slogan, but 1 + 1 becomes a lot more then. And we've seen, especially here in China, the Chinese are very keen to have partnerships with the Western world. Sometimes it's what we say maybe an unresponded love, because we in the West, we still see actually China as a competitor, and whereas we could actually take more of these opportunities here.
So what are the main barriers to collaboration and partnership that you've found in your time here?
Well, I think the main barriers are, apart from the language, I would actually say the language is not the main barrier. The main barrier is misunderstanding, and of both sides. Both the Chinese have a certain understanding or prejudice maybe about the West, but the West also has a certain prejudice about China. Actually, sometimes I would say China knows more about the West than we know about China. So to overcome this, we should engage more. That's one of the barriers. The other barrier is that China is also quite a big country, you know. So currently, when you talk to Western businessmen, if they haven't set up business yet in China, the first thing they will think about, we go to Shanghai or we go to Beijing. But I mean, the China market is a huge market. And actually more opportunities are lying now in the south and the west and in the second and third tier cities than actually in these big cities. So I would say, if it really comes down to it, I think engage more and try to find the opportunities here in China. Well, I would say if you go to the big places, you will have competition there, because, you know, if you're just following the flock, how can I say, you will have to compete with a lot of other also smart people. If you venture a little bit beyond, on one hand, you will have less competition, but the other beauty is also you will be more welcome, because no one has gone there before. I mean, how did we find our opportunity at Helis Associates? Because we focus on an area that is currently not so much covered by the famous consultancy companies, and sometimes we're actually helping those companies. I mean, we as a small company, we have, for example, some famous Swiss bank as our customer, because they're feeling like, you know, we have more market penetration than their customer relationship managers. So I think if you venture beyond, you're more welcome, less competition. I think one should first start, do some research at home and see what kind of areas is interesting. And then, you know, if you don't have your China set up yet, then engage some companies like ours and see, how you can approach potential customers or business partnerships. If you already have your business here in China, very often your business will be based in Shanghai or Beijing, then also take the next step. Look beyond your current surroundings and really try to set up also businesses in southern or western China. Well, I think what you need to do once you have a certain partnership, then you need to engage further. Then you need to sit together. You need to work out a plan how to, let's say, how to enter the market. You need to go into the nitty-gritty details and then, lay it out. Our company, you could understand it as like a platform. So basically, we don't build the partnerships directly. We deliver a platform where people can meet and can exchange. So we are organizing conferences, we are organizing matchmakings, we organize delegation trips to both sides. So we've organized very large conferences in southern China, in western China. We also organize conferences in Europe, in Munich and in Berlin, and then through this kind of conference or these platforms, people meet, and then once they meet there, then we can also, of course, also then follow up on this. Right. I think when we look at APEC, I think Vietnam is doing very well, and of course now we have also Myanmar, came through quite a difficult, long period. Malaysia, have to see. But how can I say? I'm very often asked this question also, and then I still say China, because China, as I mentioned also before, it really is like a continent, and there are so many untapped areas here, or I wouldn't say undiscovered areas, but areas with huge potential, and where you can basically copy and paste some of the principles that you have already applied in the areas in China that you're already based. So if you venture into central or western or even southern China, then I think you still have a lot of work to do before you have to go to the other APEC countries.